It is now, but they are now. So my mom.
A loving, gifting parent income, so gifts are always welcome.
Your mom what?
I was gonna ask if my mom like gave me a house, that would be gifted equity. Is that not the same thing?
Mm-hmm. You can do that.
Okay. So I have a question then.
All right.
Okay.
Did your mom win the Mega Millions the other day?
I wish. No, I was thinking about a YouTuber named Mr. Beast, because he does competitions and he gives people like private jets and like houses and like supercars, and people get upset because they're like, well, people are gonna have to pay a ton of taxes on those, and you're giving people like $1 million jets, but they still have to pay taxes every year for that jet. So
Not if he's gifting it.
I don't know if is it like a car? Does it have to be registered?
It could probably be.
If he's registering it to somebody else, the other person surely has to pay. But if it's gifted,
does he pay the taxes?
I mean, that'd be an interesting question to ask an accountant.
An accountant, an attorney.
I don't know.
So, are we ready to go?
Mhm.
Countdown done? Up live, running? Let the party begin?
Yeah.
Rock and roll?
Yes.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Show. And here we are with my good friends Laura and Miss Courtney.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
From
yes, good
Lone Star Premier Mortgage. That's okay. And
Time
here we are.
flies by when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
Laura just woke up.
Yeah, she did. She's been dealing with some loan issues. is the
Morning
best
has
of days.
gone pretty fast.
Trying to
That's
get help her clients like she does to get the deals done.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few things this morning that have sort of come on my radar, if you want to, the last 7 days. And the first thing is one of Zillow's chief economists came out. I don't know if you can bring it up on the screen over there, Kate, to say Zillow's chief economist says short-term tactics like house flipping won't work anymore as home prices continue to rise unless 3 simple methods to build your real estate riches. And them are basically buy, hold, and build equity. And that's really it, to be perfectly honest. I have a small real estate portfolio, but the truth of the matter is it's getting so tight at the moment with insurance costs. I looked at flipping some houses, but the thing that really kills the flipping houses is the holding costs, because you've got insurance has gone up, you've got the cost of the contractors has gone up. So you've got, what have you got? Insurance, property taxes, the holding costs.
As far as you mean as holding it until you're able to sell it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the average time to repair some of these houses, by all accounts, the average time sometimes with fixing the house up is between 3 and 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
electricity is up as well?
So it can be a bit of a problem.
I know my electricity bill was about, if I didn't have solar, probably about $500.
My God.
You have solar?
Yeah, I do.
Wow, what type of solar panels have you got?
I have no idea.
Okay.
This was not my idea. This is my husband's bright idea.
Okay, well, good for him. I think it's a good choice. But anyway, but back to the point we were saying that it was interesting. I thought it was interesting because driving into work this morning, it was, make your fortune, come to this free seminar the weekend and learn how to flip houses in Houston and make these millions of dollars. But the truth of the matter is, it's a lot of these seminars that we have, they make their money by selling classes on how to even do it. And some of the stuff isn't relevant for that particular state.
And you have to be super careful because some of these people that are out here teaching these classes are actually wanting you to buy in to some sort of membership that you're going to be getting some special deals, which if you do your own research and really look into it, you could probably do yourself.
There was one actually the weekend that I was listening to on the radio, and it was get yourself free 3 nights in Vegas for $99 if you attend this seminar. And that's basically exactly what it was, what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know.
And some of these are thousands and thousands of dollars.
Let's start doing it in.
They're thousands of dollars because I actually attended one just so that I can, understand. And kind
Nothing
of
wrong
what
in
goes
that.
behind. And yeah, they were very pushy. They were very
Did you feel like you were
show
going to
me
get
your
a
401k statement. Like you have to pull your 401 statement. Like you, in order to be part of the club, show me your 401 statements before I put you in a group. So,
I have.
very pushing.
How much education did you actually get compared to them trying to sell you into the membership?
Everything was more like sell.
I attended
It was
an
very
investor
soft.
seminar.
But
One of
they
John.
hype you up though.
Well, the investor seminar that John, your boss, does, I think is a good one,
Yes,
and
that
I
one
think
is
it's
very educational.
and it's factual. But also, what John can offer is because he's got a loan company. He knows the numbers and the laws of how to do it properly. But you'll get people coming in from out of state. I had somebody call me last weekend saying, would you mind telling me how to fill in this 1 to 4 contract? And what he did was, and I says, well, why do you need to know how to fill in a 1 to 4 contract for a house when you must have a broker in Houston? He said, no, he said, I did a class in Arizona and they told me that all I've got to do is go to the Trek website, pull up the 1 to 4 contract, and then just fill in the contract.
Well, if
Well,
you know,
one, he's not supposed to do it because he's not licensed with Trek.
Licensed, right? You have to be licensed.
All right.
do you have to be licensed to fill out that form?
Yes.
Trek
Even if it's a
has-
regular buyer or
Trek
seller?
has a couple of forms that you can download.
But you can't complete it unless you are licensed. You have to be licensed to fill in a form with Trek. And that's why I
Okay.
can't understand why Trek keep the forms online. Because to me, that in itself misleads people.
But investors can use that form for themselves, right?
Not if they are. They have to be
They have
licensed.
to be licensed, okay.
Because I've seen people use it without a license.
I do
And
not
that
know
is not allowed.
Trek, so
Yeah.
I stay on my side.
It's a Trek rule. Well,
Okay, that's interesting.
it's not a bad word. Not a bad way to start.
Because I have seen a lot of Trek's forms online. So.
Mhm.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. Where
I
they
agree with you.
Where they make one rule and say you've got to be licensed to fill it in, but you can go and
then
obtain it
everybody free for
online.
all.
You know.
Do you foresee rents when these leases are coming up to be going up quite a bit?
Well, actually, that leads us on to our next point.
Mm.
So let's talk about that. All right. Our next point is 1 of 10 rental homes will be lost this year as landlords flee the market. What's basically happening is landlords are starting to get out of the market because they're being crunched. Why are they being crunched? Because as bad as rental rates are at the moment, and they've shot through the roof, the cost of the cost of owning a home, and especially a rental property where you're looking at cash flow and everything else, has gone through the roof. I'll give you an example. I recently replaced one of my mottos is I only expect my tenants to live in properties that I would live in myself. Okay?
You're a good landlord.
I'm not a slumlord. I refuse to be a slumlord, and I've seen plenty of slumlords. And the reason why I do that is because each time a new tenant moves out, it costs me money to get a new tenant in. I've got to do make-readies. I've got to go through everything to make sure it's okay. This particular house that I have, we bought it from a lady that unfortunately passed. It was a real estate sale. We fixed it up. Recently what we did was we updated the 2 bathrooms into 2 walk-in showers.
You made it handicap accessible. Yes or no?
We did, in all fairness, because one of the ladies that stays there, she's elderly, and I feel even for future tenants, I think a walk-in shower. Look, I haven't had a bath for years, but I've had a shower every day, obviously. But to me, a walk-in shower is, I'd rather have a shower any day, you know. But basically, for 2 showers to be put in with the glass, we had to put a cabinet in, which needed replacing.
You put a glass for the shower instead of putting curtains?
Yes.
Oh, you went expensive then.
$15,000.
Whew.
So
For each or both?
For both. So basically, what happens? That's all your profit gone for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's all your rental income profit, and the taxes haven't come up yet.
So let's talk to Laura. Is $15,000 for a redo of 2 bathrooms a lot?
It's a lot of money poured in there. Why didn't you do it yourself? No, I'm just kidding. No.
You don't want to see my handiwork.
No, I mean, I agree with you. The price of everything has gone up. And when you're trying to make things accessible for future tenants and make it multi-use, then yes, it's going to cost the landlord much more money.
Yeah. Landlords are selling because of high mortgage costs, tax rises, and increasing regulations, according to Real Estate Advisor CBRE, which is true. At one time, Texas was known as a landlord state. And guess what? It's not now. Tenants are getting more and more rights. And I don't think that's a bad thing, to be perfectly honest, because I think there's a lot of landlords that I don't want to do a rent control like California, because I think that's ridiculous. One of the factors that I put into if I'm going to renew a tenant's lease is, have they been a good tenant? Have they paid their rent on time? How have they treated the property? We do inspections because we're a property management company, and to be perfectly honest, if they've done all the right things, then we're pretty reasonable.
How many inspections do you normally do? I'm just curious. Or what's the
on our addendum that we have, we do monthly inspections because it's like the AC filters should be changed every month. Mm-hmm. All right, that's what we have. But I'll be honest with you, more often than not, we're a little bit lax because of catching the tenant. You know, a lot of the tenants can only meet people weekends or evenings because we like a tenant to be there when we're there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, sometimes it goes as long as 3 months, but we hope that a minimum is monthly or bi-monthly. Mm-hmm. So, but you know, but the great housing crash we'll move on to the great housing crash that never was of 2023. It was actually mentioned on this channel that there was going to be a big housing crash and there was going to be all these foreclosures and everything else. Have you seen a crash?
No.
Mm-mm.
I really haven't. I mean, the only thing that's holding people back is, we're going to talk about that later on, is the interest rates make people a little bit, not reluctant, but it just puts them on hold. I think it makes them a little bit edgy. You know?
Without having the proper education yet, it makes them edgy, and they just focus on the hype instead of other parameters that they should be focusing on. But I agree, like, if you're not greatly educated, just the sense of hearing the rates can scare him.
Right, I agree. But I think the issue that really happens is people need to understand that when you do buy a house, the average increase per year on a home is normally between 11 and 16%.
For year over year?
For over a year?
Mm-hmm.
Over a year
It's
period.
usually about 3 to 5.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
think max 6, and it depends on the area, you know.
Oh, I don't think so. I've had some of my properties have gone up 16% this year. And that's market value. That's not appraised value. They've gone up 16%. I've got one in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Which it depends on the area too.
I think it depends more on the area, because we have popular areas in Houston, right? And then we have those that are not so popular, and they're definitely not going to get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one property that I've got.
Can you say what area it's in?
Yeah, I will
Just a
do.
generalized area.
I'll mention that. It's South Houston. It's south of 610.
Okay.
At one time, it was a high crime area, but gradually that's changing
So
because
They had the
people
oldest houses in the
people
40s
are
and 50s
buying
that they're redoing.
the lots because they're affordable, and they're putting duplexes on them.
High
And
rises.
you can literally drive down the street and there's a brand new $500,000 duplex, all right? And then you drive down the street and then there's a boarded up property, and then you drive down the street and there's another house that was built in 1940s. Now the people I feel sorry for, in all fairness, are elderly folk that have been in the area for a long time, and the taxes are just going through the roof.
They could literally sell that house, move 10 minutes down the road or 15 minutes a little out, and they could probably buy them a mansion.
Well, no, I don't think they could, because a lot of them are having problems even paying the taxes. I mean, I go to the auctions and there's a lot of, tax lien auctions in this particular area, and it's over in South Park, which is not traditionally known as a desirable area to live in for various challenges that it's had. But a lot of builders are going over there and buying land, and they're there was one lot, it was a tax lien, and it was like 5,000 square feet, and I think it ended up selling for like $15,000.
That's cheap.
But, well, you don't know what other liens are on the property, that's the thing.
That's true.
So that particular property, I didn't do my research on it, so I didn't bid nothing on it. But
Yeah, so I think it's like 3 to 5%, but that you got to remember that's all over the U.S. and usually Houston area we're a little ahead of that.
yeah, but the housing in general, I think in Houston is a hotter market than most, and apparently people are moving out of Florida. They're getting a bit sick of the hurricanes.
I think there's a lot more than that on Florida, because we had seen a lot.
Do you mean
where-
Mr. DeSantis is driving around?
I've seen a lot of people from Florida like calling my number and asking for loans and stuff like that. But I think it's because also political stuff that's happening over there.
But also, it's a rule now that in every house in Florida has to have,
They have to be built up.
was it flood insurance or something?
It's not just politics. It's like changes that the state has been implementing.
I
along
think
with
every house should
condos
have flood
and
insurance.
Condos and homes in Florida. All as a
Because
whole.
by all accounts, the insurance premiums in Florida have just gone extortionate. There's a lot of retirees that can't even afford it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we're just kind of in a housing shortage right now. So I think that's been another reason why we haven't
We've always been
had
in
a
a housing
crash.
shortage, and
Yeah.
that's one of the big challenges on how do we get through that. And actually, I want to set a challenge at the end of this. I'm going to set a challenge to somebody. So
Is that someone going to be me?
no, but we'll ask you a question. But I want to set a challenge to somebody and myself in a way. I want to invite somebody on the show.
Okay, we're gonna call somebody out at the end of the show.
And we're going to call somebody out at the end of the show to see
Alrighty
if we
then.
can get them on the show. Okay. So the housing market may be about to get even more unaffordable, and that's sort of we've said that for the longest time as well. Where home prices are set to spike 6% in 2023 and 7% in 2024. I think a think tank says. As I said to you, in some of my properties have gone up even more than that.
I mean, just on interest rates alone, as the market stands today, those feds are not giving up on those rate hikes.
I
They're
just
just
want to bring up something that you brought up yesterday, that when we was talking off air, that if you've got a loan for 30 years, the first years of the loan, more of the money goes to interest than it does to principal. But gradually, as you pay through the loan and you keep it down, then more of the monthly payment that you have is added to principal, which gradually pays that equity down.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the things that people should keep in mind when they are buying a house is I don't think you should be buying a house for the short term. And that's really what, if you look at all the stuff we've gone through today, it says, don't buy a house for the short term, you know. Go and get yourself a house, even for the long term, you know. And if you do decide to move, then you can join the investor market and rent it out. But that's sort of basically, you know, I think it's the best type of investment you can buy is in real estate. And the last item that I want to bring up before we come into some other topics is, there was a video that I seen on YouTube and it says, crappy real estate agents are costing home buyers millions. And I want to go into that. And I want to listen to this guy's video, if I could. All right, is it there? No, it's not there. Okay. Well, anyway, I want to make a real strong comment on this. There are a lot of, and I agree with him, of mediocre realtors that's screwing over home buyers. I don't know if they're screwing over home buyers because, like you said, Laura, it's all about education, correct? Mm-hmm. What I think is happening in the industry and what I think needs to change in the industry is it needs to become more expensive, all right, that's the first thing, and it needs to become a higher education requirement for somebody to become a real estate agent. Plus, I think what needs to happen is, and you brought up a good point we was discussing before we came on air, which was when you take your real estate license, that's just teaching you the parameters that you're allowed to work within.
It's teaching
being
you
a real estate agent.
Very basic stuff. It doesn't teach you how to do a lot of things that this industry really needs for you to know how to do to be able to do your job efficiently.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to learn outside of them initial parameters that you learn. What you do need to do is to go to a good broker that's got a good mentoring program, good technologies that help you become a successful agent. So what I think needs to happen, and it goes state by state, you know, like I was saying earlier, there's a joke in Florida that it's easier to get your real estate license than it is to get your driving license. In Texas, it's a little bit, I think it's getting harder in Texas, which is good, but I think what needs to happen is to become a real estate agent. What needs to happen is you need to get your real estate license. Then what you need to do is to serve under a broker for like 6 months or 9 months.
Almost like an apprenticeship.
Yeah. That's what I think needs to happen.
Well, they have that, like electricians and plumbers, and they have those apprentices.
Right, and that's what I think needs to happen, I think, because I'll tell you why I think that would be a good thing. One, it would make people think twice about being a broker. You've got two types of brokers. You've got brokers that own a brokerage but still want to do business out there with clients. And then you get other types of brokers that are what we call non-compete brokers, that they mentor, they teach, and they oversee the operation of the business. That's the type of broker I am. So I'm more equipped to mentor somebody through that process. But I think it should be part of the process where you go to a brokerage, because this is another problem you get as well. How many times have we done meetings, all right, even online, and people haven't showed? Is that somebody?
They have to have a commitment.
They've got to have a commitment to the business and a passion for the business to be really good at what they're doing. Now, you and me know there are some agents that are exceptionally good that come out of real estate school. They come out, they want to learn, they attend all the classes, they do everything. But even some of them people that do all the classes never do a deal.
Yeah, I think some of the things that have really hurt the industry is whenever, we were going through COVID, everybody looking for a career change. That was like the thing to do. And seeing that the housing market was so great, a lot of people said, well, let me jump on this. So we have a lot of these agents that joined in during that time. And it's saying there's roughly 1.6 million registered realtors in the U.S. That's 2.5 realtors for every available home on the market. That is a ridiculous amount of numbers for an industry.
Let me just sort of read what this article says. A glut of mediocre realtors is screwing our home buyers. Brett Weinstein, a long-time real estate broker in Denver, wants to love his industry. At its best, the business helps people find the homes of their dreams and secure financial freedom. But lately, he's been having trouble squaring that passion with a growing problem: a glut of underqualified real estate agents. The amount of time, it really does need an overhaul, Weinstein told. The general public deserves so much better than what the majority of real estate agents provide. The amount of times that I've had other agents in deals call me up and say, okay, what do I need to do with this form? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell them the same thing. It's not that I don't want to help them. Your broker is the one that needs to tell you what to fill in and what not to fill in. Because if I'm in a lawsuit with you and the deal goes south, what do you think the attorneys are going to say? Well, you told me to fill the form in this way. And I refuse to do it. I totally refuse to do that. And like you said, it actually says in this article, 2.5 realtors for every available home on the market.
That's ridiculous.
And, so the business is getting harder. It's getting more difficult. One of the things that I want to sort of do, I want to see first of all if we can get this guy, I'm looking up Brett Weinstein to see if we can get him on the program by Zoom. But also, I've got another thing that I would love to do concerning this. I want to see if we can get Greg Abbott or somebody from the housing department at Texas to even see if they can come on the show.
Okay.
I want to see.
Well, if anybody could do it, it's going to be Laura. Laura's wonderful.
I want to see if any of them have got, honestly, the guts to come on the show. Not to take a beating. I don't want to invite them on the show to take a beating or anything else, but just to explain, what the policy is, because the truth of the matter is the people that are really benefiting from this problem are the real estate schools. And as soon as then people get through the real estate schools,
But it's not just the real estate schools. There's so many online, just digital real estate schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of online.
There's a lot of brokers out there that want to keep their agents on, even if they're not producing, because they're paying those dues just sitting there.
well, there's, but that's part of the problem as well. You've got brokers out there. To me, what they should do for every person that comes through, a new agent, you should basically have to do a 6-month apprenticeship and close so many deals under that broker. But if that broker is a producing broker, producing their own deals, I don't think they should be entitled to mentor other agents. Because if they're a producing broker, they haven't got time to mentor people.
I disagree with that.
I get it all the time. I get people come in and say, I want to mentor, all right. You met our favorite that comes in all the time, all right. I don't want to mention, we just had an agent join us. He's a friend of somebody. He wanted the friend to mentor the person. And now his friend is like, oh no, I don't want to mentor anymore. I've had enough. I can't do this. I can't do my own business, and I can't mentor as well.
Mentor is a big responsibility.
It takes a special person to be able to do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you can teach it.
And I agree with that.
You have to have the patience, you have to have the time, and you have to be certain that what you're telling somebody else, it's 100% correct, because you do not want to mislead
So
them, especially in this
my
industry.
answer is what a
So
broker
it's a big responsibility.
is what should happen is the new agents coming in should do a 6-month apprenticeship under a broker, that's a non-competing broker, and they are around, and then at the same point they need to do some closings in that time, all right, to close some deals, however long it takes. But I do think that what happens is, I think the brokers themselves need to do a class that explains to them how they should mentor the new agents coming on.
That would be a great idea. But to disagree with you, I think producing brokers are also a good option. Reason is because they can take these agents with them on deals, show them from very start to finish on how to do it and the correct way to do it.
In theory, you're right. In practical, it doesn't work that way, and I'll tell you why. Laura's a new agent. I go out with Laura, it's her client. Laura needs help and I take over because there's something that perhaps Laura doesn't explain properly or needs to. The focus will change with Laura's client over to me, because of the way I talk to them, the way I explain to them, the way the form is done, the way his thing is done. I think it needs to come in 2 parts. The first thing is it needs to be done in a in a situation that's not a real client. But the amount of times that I've seen that done with different mentors, and I agree to the point what you're saying about, because you're a good mentor doesn't make you a producing agent. I get that, all right, but the part of the mentoring is if the agents are busy, they haven't got time to do the mentoring. And I'll give you a typical example. Some of our busiest agents don't use all the technology that we have. How many calls did you make with the top agents that didn't have time to come in and see you?
Yep.
So have they got time to mentor somebody?
Once again, it takes the right person.
But okay, from let's say you're Trek and you make that decision, the Texas real estate, and you make that decision, okay, 6-month probationary period under a broker. How do you determine that? Whether it's the right broker or not?
That's true, but once again, that's
What I
good
think,
people
what
in
I-
this
what I-
industry
what I
and
think-
not great people in
I
this
think
industry.
it's a non-competing broker that basically should take the helm to make sure that they've got the time to do that. So the broker's just as much committed to the agent. And then what I think needs to happen is that mentoring broker has always got the option to send them out with one of their, what they consider one of their maybe top agents, to help them with an open house. But I think there needs to be a point of responsibility in the brokerage. Now you can do it now with Trek by doing a supervisor. You can have a supervisor, as they call it. You can have an official supervisor in the organization. All right.
Another thing, which I just think of it this way, which this is on the mortgage side, our person that owns our company is also producing, but he is a wonderful teacher as well.
He is a very good coach.
And
He is.
and he uses his clients, right, as teaching opportunities and will help us in that way.
But
Yeah,
that's
and even before he was a broker owner, like, he's always been a great coach and producing. Like, he's a great mentor.
No,
Like,
I think-
am I a great mentor? Probably not. So I wouldn't
I-
step in those shoes. Trust me.
I agree with
But
that.
it takes a particular person to be great at doing both things.
Yeah.
But I think it's very difficult to do both properly, and that's my major concern with it.
I have to say, I don't know how he
And
has enough
I-
hours in the day. So
I have seen some.
Well, that's a huge problem as well. And
Like
I've been here on a
remember-
Saturday mentoring some agents, and we do a class at 11 o'clock, and I've been here till 4 or 5 o'clock mentoring agents because they've got some problem or they don't understand something. And no disrespect, but I mean, there's agents out there that just don't know how to click a right button on a computer.
Hey, some people get it and some people do not.
But that's the way it is, and there's nothing wrong in teaching somebody a little bit of computer skills. That's part of the job, to make sure that they can do it efficiently. But at the end of the day, if they're not doing it efficiently, who does it ultimately affect? The client.
Yeah, and the clients.
The clients are the one, like it said in the article, are the crappy, they get the crappy end of the stick. So we've got a new part to the show, which Courtney's going to take, and so give us some loan tips and tricks.
So a really cool trick that I learned is for any parents out there that maybe their kid is wanting to purchase the house, right? So this is not about just giving your kid a house. This is them actually going and getting a loan and being able to purchase the house. Right now, everything is expensive. Money is tight. So how can they purchase the house? Because when they purchase the house, we're still looking at closing costs. We're still looking at down payments. How can that work out? So as long as that parent has, a little bit of equity in that house, we can do an FHA loan where the parent is not only gifting them equity, so they will gift them a gift of equity that will cover the child's down payment, but they can also give them seller concessions as well because they're the seller of the house. That way that child can come to closing with basically nothing, and they're getting a house in their name.
So does the house have to be in the parent's name initially?
Yes, this is a parent giving a house to a
so
child.
So we're not talking about going out and purchasing any house for a child.
No.
Which honestly, if we're talking about that as an FHA loan, any parent can get on there and they can gift them funds. But this is particularly for a parent to a child.
Okay.
Like if the parent.
Let me give you a
owns the
scenario
home
then. My
and
son wants to buy a house,
Yep.
which he does.
Okay.
Right? And he wants to do an FHA loan. Can I gift him the money, but can I keep the deed in my name? Or will the deed,
Only in your name?
Would the deed have to be in his name? Because I want to make sure if he can't pay it, then I've got to evict him.
You can purchase it as an investment property and have him live in it. But unless he's on the loan, it can't be a primary.
What makes him different? I will treat him no different than how the President of the United States should be treated this afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern Time.
So, nope, not unless you're paying cash for the house or you're putting it only in your name.
So I've got to buy it as an investment property to put a roof over his head.
Yep. If that's what your child absolutely needs.
I'm not gifting him nothing. I would, if he was to buy a house and to put in money.
Your best bet?
When he's going out there and spending the money that he does on guns and AR-15s, I can guarantee you I am not buying him a house.
But in reality, for an FHA, it's not too much down, 3.5%, and then we can get sellers to help with closing costs. So, I mean, you're not gifting him a lot, and it would be better for you just to gift him the money, and if he screws up on his own, guess what? That's under his name and his problem.
Yeah, but you know what kids are like. Dad, I haven't paid my mortgage for 4 months.
Well, then sell it to me. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I can give you.
At some point, you have to let
I'll
the
do
children.
I'll do you a short sale. That's what I'm like.
Yeah, I'll take it for a lot less.
There you go, and then you get a bargain.
So, what I wanted to do, to be perfectly honest, was to. I want to see if we can get this guy on because it was interested. He's in, Denver, Colorado. I'm going to track him down, and also because I agree with him. I totally agree with him.
We do not condone stalking on this show, just so everybody knows.
You're on your own.
It's not stalking at all. It's for him to come on the show and to, I think he's got a very good point. But I get so disappointed with TREC, the Texas Real Estate Commission. And the other point that I just want to bring out is, they've brought out Mr. Abbott, who I'm not a great fan of, has brought out this property tax bill. But the Democrats in Dallas have come out with this, well, the property taxes, because we're generating more money on property taxes now, let's give 10% back to the tenants. No disrespect to the tenants, but I have no problem giving 10% back to the tenants if it's paid to the landlord as a credit for their rent to help them with their rent. But with the Texas Rent Relief Program, we got so screwed by some of the tenants that got paid, and we never got our money. One of the tenants ran off with $12,000, and there was no repercussions at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she had to spend it on her credit cards. That's what she said in front of a judge, because he got her in court. Yeah, and the judge turned around and said, "But that money was for your rent," and she said, "But I had to pay my credit cards." So, very frustrating.
So this was in small claims court?
County court.
Did that go in your favor?
It did.
Oh, okay. The problem with that is you probably have never seen the money from there.
We haven't, but we've just got to put it in. You hire a collection agency, and a collection agency will track it down. At that point, it might take 3, 4, 5 years, but it does. But the market is strong. It'll be I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the fall. I think the fall this year is what's going to be an interesting time.
So with these interest rates so high, right? We're probably going to see in the next year or so probably another refi boom when we go back to 4s, 5s.
Do you think we'll be down to there at the end of the year?
Not at the end of the year.
This year, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well, I'm waiting for when they're down there so I can refi some of my properties. I'll be honest with you, that's what I'm waiting for.
I mean, right now, back in October, and then at this point in time, we've been the highest rates that we've seen probably in the last 10 years or so. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well. So.
Rain on everybody's parade.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
If you don't get hung up on the rate, right, you're still acquiring a property
That's building equity.
Building equity in the meantime while you wait for those rates to just be right to get that
and that's
benefit.
Yeah, because
and that's
we're
what-
not seeing property prices go down.
You don't continue to pay somebody,
Well,
where you
100%.
live.
100% of your rent is 100% mortgage.
100% interest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not going to anything. So yes, the rates are high, but as long as you're comfortable with the payment, you just wait for that right time to do a refinance into a lower rate.
Absolutely. Kay, you had a question that you was going to ask?
Oh, it was about the equity, about if someone gives you a gift, would they have to pay taxes on it, and the kind of the tax rate on everything? Just because I was thinking about a YouTuber named Mr. Beast, and he gives away a lot of stuff. Like he gives away cars and jets and houses, and he gives them like $10,000.
Do you know what I can't understand about that though? If somebody gave you a jet, would you have it?
Oh, where would I go?
Me, a jet.
I mean, honestly, if somebody
Probably
gave you a
sell
jet,
it
that's exactly what I'd do.
Actually, do
That
I
thing.
know how to fly?
How much does
is
it cost to fuel?
It's gonna.
Maintain it, right?
I mean, how to go
Store it.
How to go broke in a week?
But that's but if there's a possibility for me to lease it so that people can,
Are we Airbnb-ing our
Airbnb,
planes now?
That would be
That's what
the
we're
ideal
doing?
way.
So, okay.
That would be option number one. Option
Somebody-
number two, if I can't find it, then I would probably.
Somebody gives you a Lamborghini. What would you do with it? Would you drive that?
I'd drive it,
Lamborghini?
Yeah.
then sell it.
Most likely, I would not keep a Lamborghini.
Think about the insurance on that car.
When I used to have
Honestly,
just
I
a
would
basic,
not keep a Lamborghini.
Because
when
most
I
of the
had a basic Alfa Romeo 4C, it was literally like a little go-kart. It was the fastest thing, and it glued itself to the floor. There was one road that we went on where I was going 115, little country road. It was real nice. And can they arrest me because I've said that?
I don't know.
I'll expect a knock on the door.
Not the law.
But basically, we drove that. But the problem was, especially in Texas, the roads are so poor.
In some areas,
The side, the bottom of the cars pick up so much, damage.
Just the speed bumps. Can you imagine those low cars going over speed bumps? I've seen literal bumpers get ripped off.
You know what? With a Mercedes C series, that is very, very common. My wife, when she shops, because she's got a Mercedes, she cannot park close. You know the parking spots where you've got like the concrete bumpers.
The little
You
meeting
cannot.
things.
You
Yeah.
cannot
Oh.
go all the way.
With vipers. Yeah.
Because
You can't say nothing. In my Camry, I would scrape in those.
in your what?
When I had a Camry, I would scrape in those as well.
I mean, the potholes alone would kill someone's car here.
But that's what I can't understand with all these, they're going about property taxes and stuff like that. If that's the case, why aren't we getting better roads? Why aren't we getting better education? That's what needs to happen.
But to answer your question, Kay, yes, if somebody gets gifted a house, will they have to pay taxes? That's something that they would have to contact their tax person.
Yeah.
And
Contact
in
an
regards
accountant.
to their property taxes, which I can opinionate, yes, they would have to be liable for those property taxes, for the remainder of the time that they own it. But in regards to taxes for obtaining their property, they would have to contact their accountant or their.
Because I think each case is different depending on each different person's personal tax situation. See, that's what we taught by Trick.
Yeah.
So, something rubbed off.
But, leave it. I would refer them, source them out to the professional who could answer that question. I personally would.
Yeah.
We need to get a
But,
tax
I
person
mean,
on here.
Having a property or even as a parent, if you give a property to your child, yes, you're gifting them that property, but now they're liable for their taxes. It doesn't mean that it's free for the rest of their lives, which is the same scenario if somebody randomly gives you a property, you're still going to have to pay taxes.
We had an investor in very significant investor that we've got in our company, and he's got multiple literally has over 300 houses. And in December he was saying the money that he has to pay in property taxes that goes out of his door is just unbelievable.
Because remember, investors do not get that homestead exemption. So
And I'm finding that out now with the way that some of the property taxes. There's one that in the South Park area. I bought it for $115,000 from one of our previous clients for property management. He bought it for his daughter originally, then his daughter at the last minute decided she didn't like Houston and went to work in Georgia. He lives in Oklahoma, so we leased it out and we worked on the property for a time. Anyway, we ended up buying it for $115 some years ago, and that's just been valued just over 3 years at $285,000.
that's good.
That's the tax appraisal value. Well, we've appealed it because it's just too much, and we ended up getting it down to $235. And that's through Connor and Associates. I would recommend them all day long, because you do the paper. I tell everybody, just do the paperwork, put it on automatic. Every year they appeal it. Every year they appeal it.
Yeah, I do know that they definitely appeal it every year for you. I met a buyer that's what he does. I'm not sure what company, but he
There's
does
different
do
companies
that
out there,
automatically,
but I use
and they
the
appeal
Connor
it
and
every year.
Associates. Right.
It doesn't mean that they're going to keep it at the same or nearly the same, but
Yeah.
at least they do their
But
diligence.
I would honestly recommend, don't go selling your home to some of these companies that just want to, how could I say, give you these low ball offers. I think you need to basically do your due diligence. I do think there's some good agents out
though, because keep in mind that usually when they're doing these like cash for homes, it's something to consider if you have a house that doesn't go the normal conventional FHA way, because that's what most 99% of people is going to be using financing to purchase these houses. If it's in disrepair, that's when you're going to have to discount your house a lot to be able to, get the most for your money.
It's gonna be like this one.
So if they don't have funds to be able to get it up to, where we can do those type of loans, that's when it might be a good idea for, doing the buy your house for cash.
But
Like this
I
one
don't.
who
I don't really agree with you on that.
she refused to sell her house to companies.
So they build around it.
So they had to build around her. And she absolutely refuses to sell it.
Hey,
I-
but you
I
her
think
electricity bill is really
if
low.
you
She's
got-
getting shade 99% of the day.
What I want to respond to what you were saying, I see what you're trying to get at, but the truth of the matter is, if you got equity in your house and they're lowballing the property,
Mm-hmm.
then what you're basically doing is giving them the equity in your house.
So-
Then to me, you're better off going and refinancing and maybe doing the work yourself and applying it.
What if they can't do the refinancing? They cannot be qualified or approved for that.
For the refinancing,
Mm-hmm.
if they've got the equity in the house, isn't that easier to get?
No. I mean, it makes your approval odds go up if you have a low loan to value, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't fit the parameters, maybe they have 4 mortgage lates, maybe they just went bankrupt, any of those, and we can't get them a loan, what are they going to do?
Well, and the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of people that have got a refi, but some of them, perhaps it's the circles that you do, but what they've done in a situation like that, and I've advised them to do different repairs. I'm not talking about what I call an over improvement on a house.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about just basics, which is, maybe roof, foundation, something that adds value to the property, because not everything adds value to a property.
That's true.
That's chandeliers don't.
But basically, what they've done is that some of them have even just gone and got a personal loan. But I agree with you saying if they've got lates, they're not going to get a personal loan.
So let me rephrase that. If you have exhausted all options to get money out, to fix up your house, to make it where it is marketable for the area, FHA, conventional standards, right? Those are the first places you want to go. But if none of those work and they have no other option, that's whenever a cash buy would be a good idea. Because as you can see, these properties, even if you get a real estate agent and it's on HAR, if they don't go for FHA or conventional financing, anybody that swoops in there and gets it is going to get it at a deal. Is that your first thought? If you see some of these that are investor need fixing up, you're gonna what? Bid a lot lower than what it's probably worth.
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, when I'm looking at properties and I'm looking at the condition, I mean, there's 2 factors that you've got, which is location and condition. Them are the 2 most important factors when purchasing a house. I agree with that. But what I really disagree with is some home flippers out there and wholesalers that are really taken advantage. I don't like people to be taken advantage of. I mean,
Yeah.
I bought houses when somebody has said to me, well, you can buy this house for $125,000 back in the day, and I've given them $142,000, right? Because I don't want to be in a position where I feel bad, and because I did that for that person, guess what? I got referrals on people that wanted to, to sell some of their houses. And when I was selling a lot of the condos that I had, I'd be fair with people. There were some people that even offered me a little bit more, but it was just, I felt comfortable. I just wanted to feel comfortable in what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can, people need to do the right thing.
Yeah, so if you do get these cash offers, first off, you just need to make sure and talk to probably a couple different real estate agents. Make sure as to what your house is worth, if there's anything that needs to be
The
done.
biggest mistake that people make when they take the cash offers is what they ought to do is get their own contractor's bids before they even call a general contractor whoever and get some bids on the work that needs to be done to get their house up to a good condition. Because what happens is they put a lot of these wholesalers, what they'll do is they'll put a premium on it.
Yep, they will.
Which you can't blame them, because they're doing the work, they're overseeing the work.
They are taking the risks too. And how many times, especially usually it's an older house that they're doing these cash offers for. How many times have you, as an investor, started ripping into a wall to fix something and there's something else wrong?
80% of the time.
Correct.
So they are taking a risk as well, but sometimes they do try to gouge
That
people.
house that I told you about, what do we ended up buying it for? The hard money loan was 85. Then we refied it for 129, and that's recently just been valued, I think, at 275. And then that's the one I've just put in the 2 fancy bathrooms.
Okay.
They're standing. So anyway, we're good.
Yep.
Another good day at the office. Thank you for coming up to the Texas Real Estate Show today. Thank you, Kay. We haven't heard you crunching on your donuts today.
I ate it all.
You
She already ate a
it all?
donut.
Yeah.
You missed it.
I'm about to go downstairs and grab me one.
Oh.
There's a donut downstairs.
There's a whole
Yeah,
bunch of
they put
donuts
donuts
downstairs.
downstairs.
Donuts downstairs.
Absolutely. And so from Miss Laura and Miss Courtney, how do we get hold of you?
Laura at lspmortgage.com or on my social media platform.
You can contact me at 832-409-7908 or Courtney at lspmortgage.com.
Or if not, you can contact me on social media, c21olympiantx.com. Or through, you can shout down the highway a couple of times and maybe I'll hear you. But if not,
Just
Kay
don't
will
throw
pick it up
trash
for
out
you.
your window.
That's what I was going to say.
You're going to get it
Oh,
back.
that's how you get his attention. You just start leaving trash everywhere.
Buckets
and
and he'll
then he'll
follow you.
find you.
Now, if I see people throwing trash out the window, especially in my neighbourhood, I look after my neighbourhood. I intend to look after my neighbourhood. Me and my dogs will look after the neighbourhoods. But until then, have a good week. Stay clean, stay healthy, and don't party too hard. So anyway, ta-da for now, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Have a good day.